The 4 unbelievable ways to destroy a narcissist's ego. Many people assume that what ultimately destroys a narcissist is losing their source of validation, growing older, or being unmasked. While those factors certainly play a role, there is something even more profound, something far darker, that plunges them into an existential breakdown. It is the moment they are confronted with the horrifying reality they have spent their entire existence avoiding, the realization that they are, at their core, nothing. And when that moment arrives, it is not an explosive, dramatic collapse. Instead, it is a slow, creeping dread, which is exactly what we're going to explore today. This discussion will reveal 4 hidden triggers that drive a narcissist into an existential crisis. Unexpected triggers that might surprise you, so you'll want to stay with us until the end. The first trigger, being completely forgotten, as if they never existed. A narcissist fears irrelevance as much as they fear death itself. Every act of manipulation, every calculated game, every attempt at control serves a single purpose: to ensure they are remembered. It doesn't matter if you love them, despise them, or fear them. As long as they occupy space in your mind, they feel they still have a place in the world. But what happens when you genuinely move on? When their name ceases to stir any emotion in you, neither good nor bad. That is when the narcissist experiences their true demise. If they are no longer at the center of your thoughts, if you no longer harbor resentment toward them, if you are utterly unbothered by their existence, they are forced to confront a nightmare worse than anything else. Psychological extinction. That's the term for it. To a narcissist, being forgotten is the equivalent of being erased from reality itself. They would rather be despised than overlooked, feared rather than insignificant. Can you imagine? The idea of being invisible, of leaving no lasting impact, is their ultimate terror. But when you finally stop caring, when their presence, their name, their entire existence fades into irrelevance, it shatters them. Because for the first time, they are faced with the one question they have always been too terrified to ask. If no one remembers me, do I even exist? And that question, more than anything else, is what breaks them. The second trigger, having their own mask turned against them. Narcissists are nothing if not imitators. They don't create, they steal. Their entire existence is built on borrowed traits, copied emotions, and carefully mimicked behaviors designed to manipulate those around them. They have no core identity, just a patchwork of personalities they've collected and distorted to serve their needs. But there is one situation they cannot endure: encountering someone who mirrors them perfectly. Picture this: a narcissist meets their match, someone who reflects their own tactics right back at them. The same artificial charm, the same empty flattery, the same calculated admiration. For the first time, they come face to face with a version of themselves they cannot control. And in that moment, they get a chilling glimpse of the truth. They are nothing more than an empty shell, a hollow replica of humanity. This is one of the few moments where a narcissist experiences real fear, true, unshakable dread. In a previous discussion, I suggested responding to a narcissist's gaslighting with a simple phrase: "I don't know what you're talking about." Someone in our survivor community actually tried it. Can you guess what happened? The narcissist was left completely stunned, silent. They had no script for that. When you conceal your true self from a narcissist, when you reflect their own tactics back at them, they are forced to confront a devastating truth. Their mask is not unique. Their manipulation is not some masterful game. And they are not the all-powerful puppeteer they believe themselves to be. Because if someone else can fake it just as convincingly, what does that say about them? It says they are nothing special. Worse, it says they are replaceable. And to a narcissist, being replaceable is as good as ceasing to exist. The third trigger: seeing someone they devalued surpass them. Narcissists build their entire existence around the belief that they are superior, that no one can outshine them. They work tirelessly to convince you that without them, you are nothing. But when they discard you, expecting you to crumble, and instead you thrive, that's when their illusion shatters. Nothing wounds a narcissist more than watching someone they tried to break rise above them. Imagine them belittling you, stripping away your confidence, making you feel small. They walk away believing they've won, assuming you will remain stuck in their shadow. But then the unthinkable happens. You flourish. Your career takes off, your personal growth accelerates, and your happiness radiates like never before. That moment is when a narcissist experiences the deepest kind of crisis. Why? Because your success forces them to face a truth they cannot bear. They were never the source of your worth. They were never as powerful as they convinced themselves to be. And worst of all, you never actually needed them. That realization sends them into a downward spiral of jealousy, bitterness, and self-hatred. They may try to smear your name, sabotage your achievements, or drag you back down, just as my own family tried to do to me. But deep inside, they know the truth. They lost, and nothing they do will ever change that. The fourth and final trigger: encountering someone who sees straight through them, someone immune to their manipulation. Every word a narcissist speaks, every relationship they cultivate, every interaction they engage in is meticulously designed to uphold their false identity. Their entire existence depends on keeping others fooled. But nothing, and I mean nothing, sends them spiraling into a deeper existential crisis than facing someone who isn't fooled at all, someone who sees right through their facade and refuses to play along. Do you know what we call that kind of person? A super empath, a healed empath. That's right. It's like a magician who has spent their entire life perfecting grand illusions, only to one day perform for an audience that simply isn't impressed. Instead of gasps and applause, they're met with a knowing smirk, a casual shrug, and the words, "I see what you're doing." In that instant, the magic dies. Narcissists need belief to sustain their illusion. That's the key. They require you to admire them, to react to their tactics, to dance to the rhythm they dictate. When they meet someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't engage, and even laughs at their attempts to manipulate, their world starts to crack. It's in that moment that a terrifying realization creeps in. I'm not as powerful as I thought. And that single thought is a fatal blow to their fragile ego. Now, when it comes to your experiences with narcissistic abuse, have you ever seen this play out? Have you ever watched a narcissist unravel when their tricks failed? Drop your answers in the comments. You never know who you might help by sharing your story. That's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you for being here, and as always, let the healing begin and continue.